What does a powerful man look like? What image do you have in your head when you think of a powerful man? Do you think of He-Man, the conqueror of the universe? Is it conqueror of the universe? I don't remember. But anyway, is it a fictional character like that? Is it Superman? Is it Thor? Is it one of the other Marvel characters? Someone from the DC universe? An anime person? Who do you think of when you think of a powerful person? Is it a real person? Could it be a big weightlifter or your favorite UFC fighter or your favorite wrestler? Every man is different when it comes to how they view power. Why is that? Well, it's because power manifests itself in each of us differently. We're all individuals. There are powerful men who don't have the look of power, but they're very powerful men. There are weak men who look powerful, but they're not really that powerful. Power doesn't have as much to do with your outside appearance as much as it does your design as a man. When you figure out your design, then you know how to be powerful. You know what things give you power and how you can use your power. So today we're going to talk about how to tap into your power so that you can live a more powerful life as a man on today's show. So let's jump in.
Welcome to the Confident Man Podcast, empowering men with the confidence they need to live their adventure. Now, here is your host, David Maxwell.
Hey guys, welcome to the Confident Man Podcast. I'm so glad you joined me here today, and I'm so glad that you want to be a better man. The only way you can get better is by you making the choice and you doing the work. It's just the way it is. Now, today we're talking about power as men, and it's something I think every man can get into and understand because we were all like that in that when we were boys, we loved power. We wanted to see who was the fastest, who was the strongest. And it's funny because guys kind of know, they look around the class and they think, okay, I'm faster than him and him. He's probably faster than me. And we kind of have our own ranking system. We did it as boys, we do it as men. But as men, we also see power differently, but we're still into power. We talk about it, we apply it to all kinds of areas in our life. You see men talking about their sports teams. Who's the best team? Who's the most powerful team? Who's the best sports player? Who's the greatest of all time? People love having those discussions. And that's kind of a power thing for men. We also do it with business. Who's the best company right now? Who has the most money? Who has the most influence? Who's lasted the longest? Men talk about all these things. They talk about history. Who's the greatest general of all time? What's the most powerful army of all time? If ancient Rome had modern weapons, what could they have done? Guys get into these conversations. They don't really mean a whole lot, but we love having those discussions and we get passionate about it. If you're arguing who's the best general of all time, Napoleon versus Patton, then you get into the nuances of, well, what if Napoleon had tanks and all this other stuff? And it's hilarious. My favorite conversations come from the anime world. In the anime world, people love cross-pollinating stories to say who's the most powerful character, which one is stronger. And for me, I always come up and I usually come down to Saitama from One Punch Man. I may be saying his name wrong, but he is the guy who wins every battle with one punch. He's so powerful. And so to me, he's just the most powerful. Although I gotta admit, I just watched a show called Daily Life of the Immortal King, and this guy was pretty powerful. He was pretty much up there. So it's kind of one of those, then you get into that discussion, who would win in a battle between so-and-so and so-and-so. Nobody else cares, but as men, we love to have those conversations because we love to talk about power. Now, the thing we don't talk about enough is our own power. You see, every one of us as men have power. I'm not saying we can take out our enemies in one punch, but we have power for life, things that we're doing every day. You need power in your life. You need those things that help you live and have a purpose and kind of do stuff with your life. The question we have to ask ourselves is, do we live powerfully or do we just survive? And that's the problem. Too many men are in survival mode. Too many men aren't sure what they're doing. They're living an insecure life. Maybe they didn't have an example of a dad or a good example. So they're thinking, am I doing it right? And what happens is, as men, we don't live intentionally with power. We don't bring the most of our power to every situation in life. So if we want to live a life with purpose, if we want to make an impact with our life, that has to change. We have to bring power to every area of a life. It's just something we have to do as men. So what we're going to do is look at 3 different aspects of power so we can increase the power in our life so we can live a better life. We do that by looking at our power sources, our power drains, and our power channels. The first thing we want to talk about is power sources. So let me ask you this question. What are the power sources for your life as a man? Where do you get your power? Now, I'm not talking about food. Food is necessary. It is a power source. It gives us energy. And unfortunately, too many of us have plenty of reserve of that. Okay, so I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about the power that motivates you, the power that moves you, the power that gets you up and gets you going. And I'm not saying it has to be power like, when I was young, played football, we had certain songs we listened to and we got pumped up. When I go to games now, college games, they play certain songs and it kind of gets the whole crowd going. What is that for your life? I'm not saying it is a particular song. It may be, but what brings power into your life? We've got to think about this because if we don't figure out our power sources, we don't protect them. We lose them and we wonder why we don't have power in our life. So there are a few key power sources that every man has the choice to what he does with. And so what we want to do is look at those power sources and how they can help us. The first one is our actions. The number one power source for your life comes with your actions and what choices you make pretty much every day. One of the actions we really need to look at is what do we do physically? And there's a lot of different areas in this. One of them is sleep. If you aren't sleeping, you don't have power. It's just that simple. Sleeping for us is like plugging in your phone. It's a way to recharge the battery. And a lot of men don't do that enough. They don't get enough sleep. And then they complain and they say, I don't have any energy. I don't know what's going on. And then they start the energy drinks. They do the coffee and they do all those things. And those aren't necessarily a bad thing in moderation. But if you're doing that to overcome the lack of sleep, it's just not going to work. Eventually, you're not going to be able to replenish your body and your body will start shutting down. You won't be able to function as well. You're going to lose power. Sleep is that important. And so what we have to do is make sure we're getting our sleep. We're getting the rest we need as men. If you're a man, you need power. If you need power, you need to sleep. It's just that simple. You say, well, I don't need that much sleep. Well, I kind of wonder because a lot of men say they don't, but then they find themselves having those lulls during the day, or they'll just, conk out at some point. Now, some guys I know who are powerful CEOs and things, they take a nap every day. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to find the way to get the rest you need for your body. Sleep is so important. You've got to make it a priority if you want to live a powerful life. The other one is movement. Your longevity and your stamina have a lot to do with your physical strength, which is powered by your movement, your exercise. A lot of guys, we sit at desks all day. A lot of guys, we sit in trucks all day. We do things, and these things can still wear us out even if we're not moving. But I'm saying that movement helps us overcome sitting all day or doing something that's not super physical. And for a lot of men, even if they do something physical, they need to have the movement in their life so they can stay strong for that. Now, I'm saying exercise is not the answer for everything, but you know what? It puts power in your life. It gives you stamina. There hasn't ever been a report out there saying exercise hurts you as a man. Now, can you overdo it? Yes, you can. But most people don't have that problem. Most men don't have the over-exercise problem. They have the fact that they don't exercise. Every man needs to incorporate some type of movement, maybe resistance training, maybe walking, maybe a combination of both to keep you at your peak levels. I'm not saying you have to buy expensive equipment. You can do stuff on your own in your living room with just your body weight to help you get better and increase your movement. You want to find those ways because that's a very important part of your power as a man. It's not to get a six-pack by summer or anything like that. I'm just talking about having power for your everyday life. And then the other one is fuel. What you eat does matter. I'm not talking about a diet. I'm talking about intentional eating for power. See, a lot of times we think of what we can't eat. And I want you to start thinking about what should I eat? You see, healthy choices start with us being intentional in our eating on purpose. So let me ask you this. Are you eating on purpose or are you eating on emergency mode? A lot of men don't even think about what they're going to eat. So they wait till they're starving and then they just eat whatever. And a lot of times that whatever is fast food, it's junk, it's something in a package, it's easy. Eating is something we should enjoy, but it should also be a food. You see, you need to focus on good food so you can eat well, so you can have the energy your body needs. Healthy eating doesn't have to be strange or weird. Just find the stuff that you like that's healthy and start eating it more. Start finding those things that are actually healthy and that you enjoy. Find food that tastes good, but is also on the healthy side. You know, it's amazing when you start living that healthier life, when you start making better choices with your food, you're going to find yourself just feeling better. Like a few years ago, I started wanting to drink more water. I just did. I was like, I need to drink more water. I'm not getting enough water. So I started, intentionally drinking more water every day. And now I feel hydrated and I can quickly begin to feel when I'm not hydrated. And there's a certain power aspect to that. And so now what I do is when I wake up every morning, I have a 24-ounce Tervis tumbler bottle. I drink the whole thing first thing. And it just kind of sets me up for the day. It makes me feel hydrated for the day. It gets my day going. So I would encourage you, find those things that work for you. I'm not saying you have to do that. Every person is different. And what you need to do is find the fuel, find those foods, find those things that works for you. You see, a lot of times we want the food to behave. We want to tell the food, you be good, but it's us. Just because something says diet on it doesn't mean you can eat it unstoppably. You know that, oh, well, it says diet, so I can have 15 of them. No. You still have to make the choice of what you're going to do. So what you want to do is you behave. You have the power and you eat intentionally. And I think that's what we need to do as men. Think of food as fuel. Yes, you should enjoy it. In fact, I think it's better to enjoy it more because then you get a little pickier and you pick specific foods and you don't just eat whatever. Another thing that we have to look at for power sources is our thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about yourself? What do you think about others? What do you say to yourself inside of your brain? And what are you doing to strengthen and engage your mind in life? You see, a lot of us are just in the state of passive. We receive information. And when you're just receiving, it doesn't make you stronger. You're just receiving. Social media and TV and all that stuff, they're fine. But what are you doing outside of that to stimulate your mind? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What kind of books are you reading? What kind of podcasts are you doing? What kind of discussions are you engaged in with other people? All of those things help to stimulate your mind and get it stronger and keep it going. We have to break out of the light switch mentality when it comes to our brain. You see, a lot of men, they go to work and they're on the go, the stress, they're doing all this stuff. And then when they get home, it's like they turn the light switch off in their brain. And they think, you know what, I'm just going to chill. And there are some times we need to do that. But if we do it all the time, our brain is going to get lazy and it's going to zap our mental power. If we want sharp minds, we have to regularly strengthen our minds. And we do that by engaging it, by doing something with it, and not just sitting and watching and being entertained all the time. Another one is your influences. Who do you hang around? What kind of things do you listen to, read, and watch? Who are your friends? All of those things influence us. And those things can give us power, or they can take our power away. They can affect us. And we're going to talk about power drains in just a minute. But a lot of the influences can either be good or they can be bad. If you hang around negative, sarcastic people, you're going to become a negative, sarcastic person. Have you ever been around those people? The people who just nothing is good. They have something bad to say about everything. After a while, you kind of start feeling that way. You kind of start agreeing with them because they're influencing you. That's like today, we have the 24-hour news cycle. that can get you depressed. It can get you angry. It can make you just want to punch people in the face. So we've got to be careful about those things. We got to be careful what and who is influencing us. And we want to make sure that we have our own mind. Our power is heavily influenced by those we're around, by the things we watch, by the things we listen to. We want to be selective and be willing to drop those things that we see, that's not a good influence on me. That's not helping me be a better man. That's not giving me power. You see, our power as men isn't some random amount we just get. Oh, that's how much power you have. We choose how to build up our power. You can be a more powerful man, and it starts by the choices you make every day. Second thing we want to talk about is power drains. What are the things that drain your power? You see, the key to having power is to build it up. You want to build it up, you want to have it. However, we've got to stop the things that are draining our power out of our life, or you're not going to be able to function as well. I like to ride bikes, and I have a bike I ride for triathlons, and the tires are road tires. So you've got to keep them in like the 110 and 120 pound pressure. It's got to be a very, very high pressure on the tires, and you can lose pressure very easily. So you always see people who ride bikes, they're pumping their tires up. They want their tires at the right pressure so they can ride farther, ride faster, all kinds of things happen. And the same goes in your life as a man. You want to keep your power built up. And we often don't think about things that drain our power, but these can be some of the biggest problems we have. You can build up power all you want, but if you've got a bad drain, it's going to hurt you. You're never going to be able to have enough power. So we want to look at some of the biggest power drainers for men. And one of them is just draining activities. Some things just drain us because they're just not natural for us. It's just not something you enjoy doing, okay? I'm not saying that you have to do everything you enjoy, that's all you get to do. Sometimes as men, we just got to embrace the suck. Some things are just going to suck. Some things are going to just be things we don't like. We got to do it. Okay, I'm not talking about that. Every man gets that. Every man has those things. Sometimes as men, we need to ask ourselves the question, do I need to do this? Is this something I need to do? I heard a story one time from a guy who he ran a company and the company was growing and doing all these things. But one of the things he did is every weekend he would spend hours in his yard, working in his yard and doing it. And yeah, he kind of enjoyed it. He liked having a good looking yard, but he started thinking about, is this really the best use of my time? Because I could be mowing my grass or I could be creating something that could sell for millions of dollars. And when he started thinking about it that way, he started paying someone to do his lawn because he said it was worth it to him to pay them because it was less than if he got an idea for something for his company that made a lot of money. And that's what we have to do as men is really think about, okay, some stuff we're just going to have to do, we embrace the suck. But some stuff we may have some choice, we may have some agency. And so we have to think, do I need to be doing this? Or is somebody better at this than me? Or is there a different way to do it? The other thing you can do is say, how can I make a better choice in this time? And now one of the things I talk about with this is habit stacking. And that's where you maybe have to do something you don't like that kind of drains you, but you put something on top of it where that kind of builds you up, like listening to books or podcasts while you're doing something that you don't necessarily enjoy. My son talks about how he watches anime while he's cleaning the kitchen. He puts the two together because nobody really enjoys cleaning the kitchen. But he and his wife had this worked out. She's an incredible cook. So she cooks and he says, I'll clean. So what he's done is he started making that his anime time each night, where he will watch an anime show while he's cleaning. And he's worked out how to do it. He puts the computer at a certain place. So he kind of looks forward to cleaning the kitchen, not because he enjoys cleaning the kitchen, but because he habit stacked, and that's when he gets to watch his anime. And you can find creative things to do that. Find a draining activity that maybe you've got to do, but what can you do to make it where it's not so draining? You know, you can either stop it, but if you can't stop it, find a way to make it better. Another thing that drains us is relationships. We talked earlier about influences and how some people can just suck the power out of you. And I think everybody should continually do relationship inventories. You need to say, okay, what type of relationship am I in with this person? And I'm not talking about like deep, marriage, things like that. And those are part of it, but also just your friendships, who you hang around. We want to have relationships that are healthy, and healthy relationships have give and take. They just do. Now, some relationships you may have a little bit more give, some relationships you may have a little bit more take. And sometimes it varies within a relationship, like a marriage. There are times when maybe the husband gives more than the wife, times when the wife may give more than the husband. That's normal in a relationship. You just want to make sure you're not overloaded with relationships where all you do is give. Everybody's taking from you and all you're doing is giving, and no one's pouring into you. No one's building you up. You want to limit those relationships. Okay, again, I'm not talking about the healthy ones. I'm talking about the ones where it just kind of sucks the life out of you. My wife, a long time ago, had a friendship with a woman, and the woman only ever contacted her when she had problems. It was all she would do. Whenever she had problems, she would call my wife. She would talk about her problems. She wanted my wife to be a sounding board. She wanted to get advice from my wife. And then once she kind of got through that time, she just kind of deuced out and just didn't really do a whole lot with my wife. So she wasn't really giving to my wife when she needed that. So what did my wife do? She kind of backed off the relationship. She didn't look at it as a close friendship. She saw it for what it was. This person just wants advice from me once in a while. So she changed her attitude. She didn't go out of her way to chase the relationship. And she still helped the woman, but she didn't look at it as this is a close friendship. What you want to do as a man is find men that you can connect with where both of you can help each other. That's the healthy way to have friendship. That's a healthy relationship. You don't want those relationships where they just call you when they need something all the time. Now, friends will do that, but you want to make sure that they're there for you when you need them. You want to have that mutual give and take. Now, another thing that drains men's power is unhealthy diversions. Now, not all diversions are bad. Sometimes we need it. All of us have maybe our favorite movie we like to watch, our favorite hobby we like to do, all of those things. Those are fine. Like for me, one of my favorite things is Crunchyroll. I like watching anime. So I like sitting down and watching anime. In fact, yesterday I was watching the last season of My Hero Academia. I was crying. It was awesome. It was powerful. It was emotional. I loved it. Okay. But what we want to do is make sure our diversions don't move from a healthy diversion to an unhealthy diversion. Anything can be fine, but anything can move to an unhealthy side. Like if you have a hobby, that's great. But if that hobby begins to take more and more of your time, if maybe what you watch, like for me, if I start just binge watching every anime that's out there, that becomes unhealthy. If I move into gaming and start gaming all the time, that can become unhealthy. You don't want what could be a healthy diversion to become unhealthy. And there are some things that can just be unhealthy, like gambling. You can get into that where it just takes away a lot of your time, a lot of your money. A lot of guys struggle with porn today, and it's an unhealthy diversion in and of itself. Drinking is one of those things some guys can do, but for a lot of guys, it's very unhealthy. It takes them to a very negative place. So what we want to do is find those diversions that aren't bad, that we don't have to feel guilty about, but also they don't overtake us. They don't pull us away from things. Now, guys, we're competitive. And that's, again, if you have a hobby, like if you enjoy golf, that's great. But if your quest is to be the best golfer, you want to be a scratch golfer, well, if you have the time, and if you don't have many other relationships, you can focus on that. But if you have a wife, if you have children, you're not going to be a great golfer. You're not going to get to spend every day at the range and every day doing those things. And you got to understand that. And on the unhealthy side, there are diversions we just need to stay away from. A lot of guys, when they struggle with addictions, it's not the addiction itself. The addiction is a sign of other things that are going on in their life. Those are the things they need to deal with. And so what men have to do is look at those honestly, because every one of those things will drain power from your life. It'll keep you from living your best life. I've seen guys, I did 30 years of student ministry, and I saw guys in ministry who were awesome. They did a lot of great things, but they had some unhealthy things in their life. And those things drained power from their life. And it took them out of ministry. They lost marriages. All kinds of things happened because they had power drains in their life. So we've got to keep an eye on those things that drain our power. You can do all the building you want. You can build up your power all you want. But if you don't stop the drains, they're eventually going to take all your power away. All right, the third thing we want to talk about is power channels. Now, increasing your power is good, but it's not just about building it up. What you want to do is build it up, but then you want to focus it in specific directions. That's what you want to do with your power. You want to make sure that you're using your power as a man properly. You want to channel it so you get the best benefits and so your life can have the greatest impact. We stop our drains, we build our power up, but we want to aim it into the right channels. Now, what kind of channels do we aim it into? Well, one of them is our own purpose and mission. What's your purpose as a man? How are you directing your energy toward that purpose? A lot of guys aren't living on purpose. They're just not. They're surviving. They're making it through the day. And now sometimes there are times in life where it's like that. We're surviving. We're busy. Crazy things are happening. I've had hurricanes hit my home. That was a crazy time. That was a busy time. But if that's your whole life, if that's all the time, then stuff is wrong. You need to have a purpose and a mission for your life. In other words, what are you living for? What is it that you're getting up for and doing? Having a successful life is great, but money is not a direction. Fame is not a purpose. Business success is not a direction either. Those can be byproducts of your purpose. What you want to do as a man is have a purpose, and every man needs a purpose. That thing that gets him up, gets him going, that thing that he lives for. Your job is part of that. That's a role, but it doesn't have to be. A lot of people have a job that's not necessarily their favorite, but it gets them to be able to live their purpose. And so a lot of men do that. They work a job that maybe pays more. Maybe it's a little tougher or not their favorite, but it helps them live their purpose, what they're really all about. As men, we were meant to live for more than just stuff, than more than just work. We were meant to live with a purpose. And if you say, well, Dave, I don't know what my purpose is, what my mission is. Well, what that means is you're not aiming your power anywhere. You're not giving your power a channel to be used. You're letting it just kind of go wherever. So what you want to do is begin the process of finding your purpose. Start moving in a direction. And what that'll do is that'll aim your power and you'll see a lot more accomplished with your life. Now, another one is relationships. And what I mean by that is, are you putting power into your relationships? Are you channeling your power, your purpose into relationships? Every one of us have relationships. We have friendships. Some of us are married. Some of us have children. We have extended family. We all have relationships. And you want to make sure power is going into them. And you're not just kind of taking them for granted. When men forget to put power into relationships, they may not see it right away, but eventually it's going to hurt them. There's guys who they don't put power in relationships, so they don't have any friends. They're lonely. Now they act like they don't care, but they're lonely. They don't have any friends. They don't have anyone they can count on. Or, if there's a guy who doesn't put power into his relationships with women, he has no dates. He has no wife. I know guys who didn't put power into their relationship and they came home one day and their wife's gone and they're by themselves. Or I've seen men who don't put power into the relationship with their children. And as their children get older, they don't engage with their dad. They don't have a relationship with their dad. They don't really want to be around their dad. The truth is, every one of us is a social creature. Every man is. People are. We need connection. Virtual relationships won't feed us. We need real people, and we need to put power into those relationships. And we've got to make sure that we're putting effort in. Relationships only get built on purpose. They don't happen by accident. Now, when a man is dating, oftentimes he gets this. But sometimes when he gets married, he moves on to the next thing. And he forgets that he has to keep putting power of his life, of his time, of his energy into that relationship. And some men will forget it. Now, kids can make us so busy sometimes with schedules and school and sports that we forget that it's really about the relationship. So what are you doing to intentionally build that relationship with your children? I promise you, the more effort you make when they're young, it will pay off when they get older. You want to put power into those relationships and also friendships. What are you doing to build friendships around you? What are you doing to intentionally spend time with other men who just build you up and you can build them up? You need to put power into those things. We've got to remember as men that we have choice. We're the only ones who have agency in our own life. We're the only ones who can pick our power and where it goes. We build up our power. We stop the drain. Every man has power, and therefore every man has choice, what he does with that power. And what you want to do is channel your power. You want to bring that choice to your power and say, I'm going to put my power here because this is the most important spot. That's how you channel your power. When you increase your power, you can channel it better and you will have a more powerful life. All right, guys, I want to close out the show by challenging you to break out of survival mode, to break out of that insecure, I'm not sure what I'm doing with my life mode. Men will only gain power if they do it intentionally. If you intentionally become more powerful. There's no such thing as an accidental powerful man. Like if you lift weights, you're only going to get stronger if you lift them. If you just look at them, if you walk around them, if you have them in your garage, they don't help you. You're not going to get stronger. You've got to go out and actually interact with those weights to get stronger. Your purpose as a man comes from you choosing to be more powerful. And you take that power, you stop the drains, and you implement that power into your life. Every man is powerful in his own way. Has nothing to do with your biceps. It has to do with how you live your life. So what you want to do is increase that power for your life. You want to increase those power sources. You want to stop the drains, and then you want to take that power and channel it. Channel it into your purpose. Channel it into your mission. Channel it into the people you have relationships with. And as you do that, you'll see that power build a life that you could barely even dream of. Getting power in your life may not help you beat all your enemies with one punch, but it will help you live a much better life than if you just wasted all your power and did nothing with it.
You've been listening to the Confident Man Podcast. Click subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. You can connect with David on Facebook and Instagram at David Maxwell. Find resources to help you as a man at theconfidentman.me. That's theconfidentman.me.